Orange Revolution is one of these, quote, colored revolutions that the US has been very involved in promoting in places all over the world, and particularly in Eastern Europe when it was trying to pull those countries more to the West. And so it would do things like fund civil society groups, promote opposition to the government, and try to build up what our government would call liberal democracies in these countries, whether it's in Georgia or in what was Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, in Ukraine. And many of them were, quote, successful in overthrowing dictatorial governments, repressive governments. But some of these other color revolutions that have been happening around the world have also overthrown governments that are simply not pro-US. And so that's what we see happening, and what happened with the Orange Revolution. And it was really a precursor to the uprising that happened then later in 2014.
And that uprising you're referring to is Euromaidan?
Yeah, that uprising in Euromaidan is something that the pro-Ukrainian resistance would call an uprising of dignity, and said it was a peaceful uprising against a corrupt government. The way we portray it in the book is, yes, it was a peaceful uprising against a corrupt government, but that government was democratically elected, and that peaceful revolution was taken over by forces that were violent, paramilitary, neo-Nazi, ultranationalists. They were a small percentage of the people who were protesting, but they were the ones who had the weapons. They were the ones who invaded armories and got weapons. They were the ones who set buildings on fire. And in the meantime, while the peaceful protesters were working with the government of Viktor Yanukovych, who was the head at that time, and outside governments, at that point it was France and Germany and Poland, and they came up with an idea to bring forward the elections to be 6 months away. And the armed group said, no, we're not going to agree with that, and instead overthrew the government by physically invading the spaces like the people on January 6th here in this country tried to do, but were unsuccessful. And Viktor Yanukovych was forced to flee the country. And a rump government was put in power that even US-run polls said that the majority of people did not consider it legitimate, did not consider it constitutional, until there were new elections that were held. And then they had turned a pro-Russian government into a pro-Western government. And it's not only that this was helped by these violent paramilitary groups, but also with the help of the United States. And as we outline in the book, the role of the Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland, we also outline in the book how the US had been giving $5 billion up until that time to create civil society. You know, it's funny, in this country, we say, oh, the Russians created these bots and they influenced our elections, Russiagate, which turned out to be really nothing. But in the case of Ukraine, it was literally billions of dollars that were poured into that country to turn it against Russia. So you have the outside interference, particularly the interference of the United States, as well as these ultra-nationalist groups that turned a popular uprising into a coup.